Welcome to Behind the Sofa. Welcome to episode 1 of Behind the Sofa. My name's Ollie.
And I'm Kirsty.
And today we're going to be talking about the Babadook. So before we get on to that, thank you guys all so much for support. We've had so many lovely messages and people getting in contact, talking about horror movies and stuff like that. It's been really cool.
Yeah, it's been awesome. First week's pretty good.
Yeah, so just to let you guys know, we are available. We're blowing up. We're all over the place. We got Spotify, so you can find us on Spotify now. iTunes, you just got iTunes as well. What else?
Soundcloud, Podbean, and YouTube.
Yeah, so anywhere that you guys like to listen to podcasts, we are there. If there's anywhere else you want us, just drop us a message and let us know. But if you could, get in touch with us on social media, Behind the Sofa Podcast, give us a rate, a review, a subscribe. That would be so cool because we just want to hear more from everyone. So, anything else before we get started?
Oh yeah. I'm working on it now, so by the time this airs on Monday, we should also have on our website, you can find the link on Facebook and Instagram, but we will actually have an online store that will have all of the movies in the top 100 available for you to click through and purchase. And it's Amazon affiliate, so basically you go through to Amazon. If you make a purchase, then we get a little bit of pennies back.
Give us those shekels.
Yeah.
We need shekels.
Yeah, and that will go straight back into making more podcast episodes, so thanks in advance.
It'll be lining my pockets. It'll be lining my coffers. But yeah, there's going to be loads of cool stuff happening on the website. So what's the address of the website, Kirsty?
It's actually part of my online shop, or my online collective, which is Kitty's Boutique. But if you go to Instagram and Facebook, Behind the Sofa Podcast, then it will have the link on there rather than me trying to spell it out to you on a podcast.
That bad podcasting.
Yeah,
bad
sorry.
Podcasting. Cool. So this is it. I'm really excited. Episode 1. So we did episode 0 last week where we told everyone what the movies we were going to be reviewing were. But now we're going to review a movie. And it's the Babadook at number 100. The Babadook. So how are we going to do this? Do you want to do some information? Do you want me to do some information? Kirsty's got some information. She's a good note taker.
Well, yeah, this movie came out in 2014, and it was director Jennifer Kent's first feature-length film. She'd actually made a short in 2005, so 9 years previous, that was called Monster, and we actually put that up on Facebook the other day, so you'll be able to watch it. It's a little 10-minute short, and it gives you a little taste of, you definitely can see where the Babadook came from.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's it was definitely a dry run. I don't feel like some of the themes are quite fleshed out, but some of the visuals and stuff, you watch it and then you think, yeah, I can see where this came from.
It's definitely there. The movie itself was actually was not received that well. Not that people were going. Yeah, well, in Australia, it's the director is Australian, the actors are Australian as well, but it was originally it was a bit of a flop. It wasn't that people were getting mad about it; they just didn't really care. But then in 2014, it actually went to Sundance and was really, really popular in Sundance, and so it gained traction in America and in Europe. And then it's become, popular enough that it's made the top 100. So,
wow. Now, one thing I want to say before we get onto the review proper, it is hot as balls today. It's so hot. The windows are closed, and we had the fan running, but then you could pick it up on the microphone. Kirsty and I are sweating.
Yeah.
Just for your enjoyment, your amusement.
So enjoy.
But not only that, you might not only hear the sweat dripping on the microphone.
We also have our first guest.
Yeah, we have our first guest with us. Say hello.
No, she's shy.
She's too shy. So basically, Peanut the Chihuahua is on the podcast. So if you hear some yipping and some scurrying and basically some gross noises. That's her eating her Kong. Which
might add to the the general creepiness of the
it
of
certainly
what we're talking about,
it certainly fucking turns my stomach. So so if you hear some weird noises, I promise it's not my stomach. It is Peanut the Chihuahua. So yeah, the Babadook.
Yeah.
Let's so basically let's give a rundown of the plot. So directed by Jennifer Kent.
Yep.
It is about a woman and her son, the woman whose name is
Amelia,
and the son whose name is Samuel.
Yes.
And they are living on their own because the husband or the father died while he was taking Amelia to the hospital to give birth to Sam. So, and basically, Sam is a little bit troubled. He's getting in trouble at school. He's being violent. And he's terrified that there's a monster living under his bed, which, pretty classic trope. Mm-hmm. And then one day they're reading their bedtime story and they pull one off the shelf and it's a book called Mr. Babadook. And it is the world's creepiest pop-up book. So basically, once they read the book, strange things start to happen. So I think that's a pretty good place to jump in. One thing I will say, I think we'll gauge people's thoughts, but I think we're going to have to do some spoilers. I think there's going to have to be some spoilers.
It's definitely spoilerific.
So, Kirsty.
Yes.
Did you like this film?
Yes.
Podcast over, right? With the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, no, I really did like it. I mean, it is a really interesting film anyway. It doesn't really go for much in the way of jump scares. It's just like building up of dread, which is good. It feels like, for anyone who's watched it, and wonder if you feel the same way, it feels like tiring, like exhausting, but in a good way because it's meant to be. Yeah,
for sure. I feel like when I was watching it, this is the second time we've both seen it. It's the second time we've both seen it. That sort of chipping away at Amelia's kind of
sanity, and like the whole lack of sleep and wondering if she's going crazy, basically. Yeah,
the actress whose name is, Kirsty's got the name,
Essie Davis.
She is brilliant at basically portraying a mother at her wit's end with everything that's going on with her kid. Yeah. But anyway, so you were saying, so you loved it, and it's
I mean, it's really good. Like, you can look at it like, I've got, there are the theories out there of like what the Babadook is, and I completely agree with that. So I didn't know if we wanted to start getting deep into that just now, or whether we're going a little bit more.
No, well, I think that's a pretty good spot to jump in, because for me, the Babadook very much wears its colours on its sleeve. It's so obvious that it's a movie about a thing, and that thing is a mother's grief, or a wife's grief. So basically, some things really jumped out to me on the second time I've watched it, though. Like, I don't know how I missed this, because it seems pretty patently obvious now, but the fact that the Babadook looks like Sam dressed up in his magician's outfit. Which is something that never really... I don't know why. So Sam, the little kid, who, let's just get it out of the way, is cute as beans.
Yeah, he's adorable. Noah Wiseman, who's like 6 years old when he got picked for this film, and he is brilliant. He's so good. And
he's done that classic horror movie thing of he was in one good film and then he's never done a film again. Yeah. Didn't the kid who plays Danny in The Shining do that?
Possibly. We might have to investigate a little bit more into Danny Torrance when we get to the Shining.
But I think the film would not work if it wasn't for those two actors. And considering one of them, sometimes when you see a kid in a movie, it's they get a bit stagey, bit stage mum.
Yeah.
And that really ruins it. But this kid is so natural.
Well, they said that when they were picking him, that they were looking first for like 8 or 9 year olds, but they all kind of had that I am acting kind of thing going on. But like like when Noah came in for the audition, they just said like he's perfect because he's just got this wide-eyed. Like
he says some of the way he delivers those lines is like so heartbreaking. There's lots of lines about you don't love me anymore, mummy, but I love you still, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's proper tug at the heartstrings stuff, but like it's just great. But I mean, it kind of you can see where it all started coming together, but if you didn't view it as just dealing with grief, then it's it's just a great horror movie. But if you start noticing that, then you really, really start paying attention to everything. So like it starts in the basement. Samuel goes down there to go and perform his magic tricks and stuff, and all of his dad's stuff is stored down there, and it's meant to be that like Amelia doesn't really go down there. She never mentions his name. She hates it when people talk about her husband because she just can't deal with it, so she's just been pushing it away. And so him going down there and starting that, it's just brought it all back up, and it's all around Samuel's birthday as well, so it's around the anniversary of her husband's death. So that kind of starts it. And the whole movie plays out over like a couple of days, but it feels, like it's just a slow descent into, just losing your mind. And it's really well done.
I want to go back to something you were talking about earlier on. One of the things that I love the most about this movie is that creeping sense of dread that just builds and builds and builds as the movie goes on. It starts off, quite slow, little tip, 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 but then once there's a scene that I also found to be quite, pointed, I guess, as it goes on, when the mum gives Sam some sleeping pills, and before that they've had this scene where basically the gist of it is he says that I'm going to protect you if you'll protect me. And she promises, yeah, of course, I'll always protect you. And then she immediately drugs him, which basically, leaves him in the most vulnerable position. And then when he's vulnerable, then there's no one around to, I guess, protect her from this depression and grief that starts creeping in. But I just want to talk about that scene. I think probably my favourite scary scene in the whole movie is that first scene in the car when I think... Okay, so Amelia has got this terrible sister called Claire and who has a real bratty little daughter called Ruby. Mm-hmm. And they're at the park with them. And Sam gets on top of the swings and everyone has a massive freak out. And then she's driving him home and she's shouting at him and shouting at him. And then all of a sudden, because he's saying, you don't believe me, the Babadook's real, the Babadook's real. And then all of a sudden, he gets this look in his eye that someone's in the car with them. And then she has that same look creep over her face as well. And I don't know, those two actors just absolutely nail it.
Yeah.
And it feels, I was like, oh, it's in a chill up my spine. I was like, there was something in the car with them. And it really got to me.
You didn't need to see it to know it was there. But I mean, like you were saying about the sister, and she goes to like her sister's little girl's birthday party, and it does not go well. But one of the lines in the book, the Mr. Babadook book, really sticks with me, and it's just the underlying theme about all of it. And it's if it's in a word and it's in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. And if you substitute Babadook for grief, then it's basically like the words and looks that you get that she had from all the mums at the party who are like, feeling awkward or feeling weird around her or not sure what to say because she was obviously still dealing with her husband's death. And Samuel comes out and says stuff like doesn't think first and just says stuff out loud and tells it like it is.
Yeah, the old lady later on even says basically that. She says he tells the truth, that one, and then Amelia right at the end says the same to some social workers that come around as well. Yeah, so you've got all these like perfect mums, and she's obviously not dealing with like everything all that well, and she kind of lashes out at them, and so it just adds more and more to like them like
Amelia and Sam just being outsiders. They're being like, you know, everyone thinks they're a bit weird, and you know they're completely alone. Like by the end of it,
one thing that really hammers home to me the fact that Amelia is seen as an outsider is the fact that she wears a fucking cable knit jumper to bed. I was like, that can't be comfortable. Yeah. I feel like you're waking up with all sorts of weird ridges on, like, it's like going to sleep on a corduroy pillow. It's like, that cannot be comfortable. And also, one thing later on is it's some kind of new trope. It must be going in the bath with all your clothes on.
Signifies that you're mad.
Secret movie language for she's ready to go to the booby hatch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also just want to give a first ever Behind the Sofa podcast medal out. It's the medal for the goodest boy.
Aww.
And the goodest boy award goes to Bugsy the dog. I cannot... If that kid had died, I probably would have been less upset than if Bugsy died. I was like, oh, Bugsy, no!
So yes, spoilers. But, yeah.
There's going to be... I feel like there's going to be a lot more pooches with sleeping and with raspberry jam on them. And
they're all going to sleep. They're having a nice nap. They're fine.
But we'll continue.
That's how I do
I'm sure we'll continue on with this terrible trend of giving awards for the goodest boys and girls.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, one of the other things, like, it's worth watching this. It's a great film anyway. So I'd say watch it at least twice. Because there's, like you said, there's things that we picked up on the second time around that didn't occur to us before. Like, when all of the weird stuff starts happening, a lot of the things that happen with Samuel, you don't really see them. He runs into the room at night, wakes up his mum and says, you know, the Babadook's in my room. They go into his room and he's not there. And there's nothing there and it's fine. And you can write it off as like kids' imagination and everything. But then Amelia starts seeing these things or hearing these things, lights flickering and hearing the knocks and things like that she can't explain. But she never... Samuel's never there when she sees or hears these things. He's either asleep or he's in another room or something like that. So when the like really terrifying stuff starts happening, like Samuel's not around. And it's only towards the end that they actually experience like some kind of supernatural happening together. It's all been like a personal kind of journey, and again it's because, you know, they're dealing with their, you know, their losses and their stresses and stuff in their own way. Because
I think, so to get down into kind of into the weeds on this one, it's about a mother who kind of at heart blames her unborn child for the death of her husband. But then
he's a difficult child anyway.
But then also she clearly loves him. You know what I mean? There's no doubting that up until a certain point she loves him. So every time that he is not in the room, or she's knocking him out, or she's trying to basically shut him out, those are when those darkest thoughts start to creep in, and that's when, you know, and we all know, as we said right at the start, the Babadook basically is the embodiment of all of her grief and depression.
Yeah.
So although she finds this kid difficult, you know, he's basically the one that's keeping her sane at the same time.
So she tries to keep him awake at different points because she just cannot stand being alone, because she knows that when she's alone, that's when all those dark thoughts will start creeping in. And obviously in the film it's portrayed as, you know, like when she's on her own, that's when the Babadook comes. So she's trying desperately to like keep him with her, but she's getting, you know, like just getting more and more, you know, into her own madness essentially as it goes along. And it's just, she flips from, you know, loving him so much to like hating him and wanting to, you know, like threatening him and things like that. And one of the interesting things they were talking about with you were saying that they work together so well, the two actors, they actually had them like meet and hang out and just play and things like that before they started doing the filming and in between the filming, so that they would have a proper good connection between the two of them. But when there's the scenes where you have Amelia properly screaming at Samuel, like she tells him that sometimes she wishes she wants to kill him, and all of these horrific
the one that
things.
gets me the most, and I thought was so sad, maybe because I'm a big boy, I'm a big boy at heart, when he's like, Mom, I'm hungry, and you can tell this kid looks super malnourished.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, why don't you go and eat shit? And I was like, oh my God.
It hurts.
Yeah, that was rough. That was a real rough one.
But yeah, when they were filming that, they really wanted to. They paid attention to the fact that they were basically like there as a 6-year-old kid. So they actually took Noah off of the set, and he wasn't around when they were having those proper screaming matches. And she was actually directing. Essie Davis was actually directing her screaming and shouting at a stand-in actor who was on their knees behind the camera. So it looked like it was coming from Samuel's point of view. And she was properly just letting fly, but they didn't want to have them screaming at like a 6-year-old kid and ruining his childhood, so they decided to do that. Call
me old-fashioned, but I wish there were definitely moments where I was like, "There's no way that kid is standing behind the camera." I was like, I'm not a horrible, abusive person, but I feel like in terms of movie magic, I did feel like at certain points those two characters were not in the same room at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I guess kind of leads me on to what didn't you like about the film? Because I've got one or two little bits. Do you want me to go first?
I mean, the only bits that I can think of, it's not a case of I didn't like it. There's just certain bits that, they're kind of hard, like Bugsy.
Yeah.
And like I said,
R.I.P. good boy.
Yeah, and like I said, the fact that it is just a slow burning downward spiral into, just someone losing their mind, and it's tiring to watch. I know that was what they were going for, but you will find yourself just, it is definitely worth a watch, but it's, it can be hard going at times because it's just difficult to see people who you feel emotionally attached to them because they are really good actors as well, and you really feel for their story. And that makes it even harder to just watch someone just go down and down and down into that. But
I like how your criticism is basically the interview version of I work too hard, being the being the
I'm
thing
a
that's
perfectionist.
I'm a perfectionist.
It's hard.
It's not really a critique, but we'll take it.
I mean, I really liked it. I can't really think of anything that I want to pull apart on it. So.
I agree. There's only one thing, but I will say, just to add on to your point, the one I found it so much more emotionally affecting this time. I don't know why. Is it old age? Am I getting older and therefore
a bit more
softer?
emotional.
I'm getting a bit soft.
I think honestly, we had a bit of a, not going into great details about it, we actually had a really rubbish year ourselves last year with bereavement and things like that. And I think honestly, when something like that happens to you where you haven't experienced it before, and then you're going into watching something where people are, having to deal with that kind of thing, you actually feel like it a bit more a connection. I'm not going into spoilers on something else that we're going to do on the list, but even when I was watching Hereditary, which has themes around loss as well, and I found myself getting emotional around that. And I think that's the only time that would affect you is if it's something that you have actually experienced in your own life. So maybe between the time when we watched the Babadook, maybe about a year after it came out or so, and watching it now, we've been through some pretty bad stuff. But maybe that's something to do with it.
Now, I'm gonna put some truth out there. The Babadook itself is not scary. And by that I don't mean the movie. I find the movie it's very hard. I find myself not easily scared these days. The movie itself, I thought, did a great job at doing that creepy haunted house, shadows, all those kinds of things. I thought that was great. And like I said, I found the scariest part was just those interactions between the mum losing her mind and the kid. But when you see the physical representation of the Babadook, which is basically Noel Fielding from the Mighty Boosh in a fucking Jack the Ripper top hat.
I've got a fact about it though.
Well, I find that not scary. I find it very unscary. And also that, I know it's so played out these days, that herky-jerky sort of stop motion style of movement. I just feel like for something that was so clever, like a movie that was so clever, I just feel like they kind of popped out when it came to the actual. Kirsty has literally got her hand up in the air. She wants to talk so bad, but I'm I'm stapling my flag to that flagpole. Do you staple a flag to a flagpole? No, you don't. Go on. Say what you're going to say.
Okay. The Babadook, the way he looks, was actually based on Lon Chaney. So we might have to try and drag out a picture of Lon Chaney in. I think it was. I can't remember what the name of the film is, but I apologise. It's got something to do with hypnotism, the hypnotist, the hypnotist assistant, something like that. But he was based on that, and everything. All of the movements that you're saying about how it's kind of stop motion-y, that's because it was. All of it was done by stop motion, and then they just smoothed it out in post. So she wanted to keep it all in camera rather than like adding loads of CGI stuff, which we see a lot of in horror movies now. So she wanted to keep it like that. So it's, you know, the bits that you see where he's like crawling across the ceiling, or the little bits where he's moving and stuff, a lot of it is actually stop motion. So it gives it that juddery, slightly unnerving movement. Which, again, it is played out quite a lot nowadays.
Yeah, I feel like I was just like watching a Marilyn Manson video from from the early 2000s. I was a bit like, I've seen this before. That, and I wasn't mad keen on that final confrontation where she basically says, if you touch my son again, I'm going to fucking kill you. For everything that to have been so clever up until that point, I'm not saying it was bad. It just wasn't. It didn't meet that same high standard. I know. You said it
didn't connect. I agree. It didn't connect with like the narrative throughout the whole of the rest of the film, where it is like, this is a metaphor for grief. This is a metaphor for loss. It just became that. But like, I mean, I really did like the bit like just before that. She's like, "You are trespassing in my house," and I kind of love that, because she's basically like, "I'm taking back control of my life and not letting this like overpower me." But then the rest of it was a bit like, now they're seeing it together and they're not imagining it, and they realize that it's real, and I get that.
I feel like the subtext is the strongest part of the movie. Like the stuff that's not said and the stuff that's kind of left below the surface, I think is the strongest part. They have a much better knack of showing and not telling. I don't know, of basically building that tension. I think this is going to be a huge pattern emerging when we count down these movies. I personally think that ending horror movies is probably the most difficult thing a filmmaker can do. I bet 90% of the movies on this list, even though they are incredible, probably have slightly crap endings.
Yeah, I mean, this one is actually quite rare in the fact that everyone, with the exception of Bugsy, R.I.P., everyone, like the main actors and the people, it's only a very small cast, but everyone survives.
Yeah, wow, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
It's got like the body count is one dog.
Yeah.
Not to belittle our dog listeners.
He is a good dog.
Yeah, he's the best dog.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the other bits that like really grabbed me, like the way that they did it. But I think one of the other bits that really stuck with me was like this book turns up. He pulls it off the shelf. She's never Amelia has never seen it before. They're reading it. The music starts building up. It starts getting a bit more creepy. There's some really disturbing stuff in there. And then she closes the book and the music stops. Everything goes quiet. She hides it away around the house. She hides it on top of the wardrobe. And when she's holding it, you hear this tense music start to build up. And then she pushes it away to the back of the wardrobe and just closes it away. And it stops for a little while. But then it starts coming back even harder each time, and more and more and more. Every time she pushes it away, it gets harder and harder. And again, it's just all that underlying thing of, if you don't stand up and deal with it and do what you need to do to move on, if you just keep pushing it away and hiding it, it's just going to keep coming back even harder. So I think they did that quite well.
I love that. I would love to see where it came from, that trope of destroying a thing or hiding a thing and it turns back up. Like I want to do. There's going to be like at some point like a behind the sofa drinking game where it's like if an object with dark arts and dark power around it reappears after you've destroyed it, take a shot.
Have a drink.
Yeah.
I remember telling you recently about something that I've read. I'm sure that there's people who have seen this as well. It made me laugh so hard, and it was someone's boss at work had been reading The Exorcist, which is a very good book. I would recommend reading it as well as watching it. But they'd confided in this person that they got so creeped out by the book they couldn't finish it, so they went down to the end of Brighton Pier and threw it off the end. So this person, as a great employee and a good friend, decided to find a copy of The Exorcist book in an old bookshop somewhere, rinsed it under the tap a little bit, and then left it in their boss's drawer for them to find.
Oh my god, that person's a jerk.
It was amazing.
A hero jerk. But yeah, I think so. Let's start to think about the wrap up of this film. So we've had the vomit, we've had your trespassing, we've had basically once Amelia confronts
Mr. Babadook.
Yeah, once she confronts the Babadook and, you know, starts to think about her husband and all these things, basically, as soon as she starts to when she wants to protect her son, she has to process what's happened to her husband, basically. Yeah. So
you see a nice graphic reenactment of the accident that killed her husband.
Yeah, which was quite good. I appreciate
it's just
that.
You have
going
to
in
face
there.
it, literally face it head on.
Yeah, there was no more running around at that point. They were just in the room, and she was staring. One thing, maybe a little bit heavy-handed, but I kind of liked it, was she was literally staring into the void.
Yeah.
She was staring into a deep black void, and you could see the arms. Was it the arms?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the arms of the Babadook kind of like reaching out and trying to grab her, and trying to grab Sam, and she was just like, "No, I'm not fucking having this." In that typical brassy Aussie way. No. It was great. But then there's a little kind of like a wrap up at the end where Sam is having his birthday, which obviously is the day that the dad died, and they make a big thing about it during the movie that Sam's never had a birthday party on his actual birthday because it brings up too many horrible memories for the mum.
She just couldn't deal with it, so she just wasn't dealing with it at all.
But,
she just closed that door.
Yeah, so basically, talking of doors, once she's defeated the Babadook...
Oh, sorry, Peanut. Shush.
Once she's kind of like banished the Babadook, it goes down into the basement, and then you get this kind of like like a wrap up scene where she goes into the basement with a bowl of worms, and puts it down on the ground, and the Babadook kind of tries to come for her again, but she faces it down again.
But calming it like a child rather than like battling it. She's just like shh, 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 shh.
Which I guess is kind of like, if you're talking about it from like a depression kind of standpoint, like she's like, right, I'm depressed, I have these feelings, they're not going to go away. They're in in the movie they're in the basement, but I guess if you're talking about it,
started in the basement. So it started in the basement because that was where she shoved all of her husband's stuff because she couldn't bear to look at it.
Yeah, I saw somewhere written as like the room of the past, where it's like all the things from her past that she wants to kind of shut away, get put down in the basement now, because obviously she doesn't want to be reminded of her dead husband all the time, or the time that her family was attacked by a monster from a pop-up book.
Yeah.
But what did you make of that final scene? Did that jive with you, or was that like another...
Yeah, I mean, the whole, like she goes down there with a bowl of worms that she's picked out of the garden with Samuel's help, and they had a nice little, like, they had just a birthday party with the two of them in the back. The one bit that I noticed about that, and I wanted to sort of have a look at the beginning of the film again just to see whether it actually started from that point and sort of descended into where it was and then came back out again. But I think I read that because the short film is actually filmed in black and white, and they considered filming this in black and white as well, like completely in black and white. But they decided against it. But what they did was, like, the house and the soundstage, if you look at it, it's slightly overgrown. The garden's a bit of a mess. The whole of the inside of the house looks like a child doesn't live there. It's all very dark, dull, empty. there's hardly anything there that shows that people actually live in this house. And then when they come back at the end, it's decorated for Sam's birthday. The colours seem a bit warmer, like everyone's like complexion seems a bit warmer, and they just brightened it up a little bit. So it just felt like it was that they'd come out of the other side of this like really dark, bleak kind of time, and all the colours and everything reflected that as well. But with like I said, with the Babadook in the basement, the bowl of worms, nice touch, because it sort of like goes across the floor as if it's being pulled by an unseen hand. She goes down there and she has to face the fact that she has this, like this grief within her, and it's like locked down in her mind. You just, like I said earlier, you just got to do what you got to do to move on. And for her, it's dropping a bowl full of worms down into the basement, every so often to try and keep it, locked away, but dealing with it at the same time and having to face it.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of basically saying she's going to be living with the Babadook stroke her depression or grief for her whole life, but she just has to find a way to basically manage it and keep it down.
Yeah. I thought they did that really well. Like I said, there will be sort of split opinions on the whole bowl of worms thing, but it is just like you're kind of dealing with it. You're not like, I hate it and I'm going to shove it away and I'm going to, not speak about it and everything else, because she's realised that doesn't work. But she's faced it head on. She's had to deal with it when it flares up, and that's what I think it signifies when it tries to attack her down there. It's not got enough power to like completely overpower and possess her like it did before, but it's still enough to like knock her off her feet every so often, and it just hits you hard sometimes. If you're dealing with those sorts of things, sometimes it just, something will remind you of it. And I think that's what they were going for with that. So I think they did it quite well.
I think you're right. So Kirsty has got some facts.
Ooh, I do. I forgot
the interesting fact segment, or the trivia segment.
Okay. Well, the first one I think is quite a good one. William Friedkin, who's the director of The Exorcist, which is in the list.
Yeah.
We recommend you listening to episode 0, the list, to find out where The Exorcist is. He has actually said that he has never seen a more terrifying film than this one.
Got to disagree with you there, William Friedkin, but wow, that's cool. That's high
pretty
praise.
Good, yeah, pretty good accolade.
Is he like Stephen King though? Really, like
everything's brilliant.
Everything's brilliant.
Everything's
like,
terrifying.
If you're Stephen King, everything's like I poop my pants when I watch this. Like easy up there, King.
He's lovely.
Yeah, I wonder how easy it is to get a blurb from William Friedkin.
Let's try getting one from Stephen King for the podcast.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Do it.
Stephen King. I know I just slagged you off a bit, but
that's the goal.
Yeah.
Someone has said before, I have no idea whether this is correct, but I have seen it on a few places, so whether it's just spread and gone a bit wild or not. But accidentally, they didn't pick it particularly for this, but Babadook in Hebrew means he is coming for sure, which actually creeps me out just a wee bit.
Wow, that's what a weird synchronicity.
Yeah,
that is kind of,
again,
that is
could
weird.
Be completely wrong. My facts come from the internet, but yeah,
don't.
I really like that one.
Yeah.
Another one is during the time when she's flicking through the TV channels, it all seems to be old TV, and then like coming back into the daytime, it's like infomercials and things. But late night, she's watching black and white old cartoons, old movies, and things like that. And one of them that shows up is Black Sabbath by Mario Bava, which is number 82 on our list.
Whoa, there you go.
So we'll be able to find out which little scene in there, and the scene in the Babadook that comes after that is shown on the screen is very close to some of the scenes in Black Sabbath itself. So obviously took a little bit of inspiration from that.
Oh, cool. Any more facts to finish us off?
Okay. The one that I really, really like, because it has birthed so many gorgeous memes about the Babadook, was a huge Tumblr discussion about whether the Babadook was gay.
Okay.
So I think they made a joke about the fact of, he's a bit of a snappy dresser. He's got the jazz hands. He's got the, flamboyant cape. He's got the top hat and everything. But more, they were discussing the fact of it being that it's like this unspoken presence within people's houses, that within their family unit, that they try and shove away and they don't want to talk about it and everything like that. And there are a lot of people that were just like, that kind of weirdly resonates with how my family dynamic goes, with them just not dealing with the fact that, like, that they were gay, or about their gender orientation, their sexual orientation, or anything like that. They really resonated with it. So there were people that were half joking, and then there were people that were just like, no, actually, like, I can kind of see this. And so if you look up Babadook meme, you can find all of these amazing fan art pieces and Photoshop pieces and things like that. And someone jokingly Photoshopped the Babadook into the LGBT film section on Netflix, and people just ran with it. And it took a lot of, like, digging around to see whether it was actually real or not, and whether that is where it came from. But it just made me chuckle. But yeah, if you can find the original Tumblr post, it goes on for like thousands of posts with people commenting on it. It's so fun.
God bless you, internet.
Thanks, internet.
And we're in Pride Month as well, so that's an excellent fact to finish us up.
Good job.
Okay, right. Well, here's the question: does this film deserve to be at number 100 on this list?
I think it's quite hard to say that it could whether it needs to be at this placement before we've run through a few more. So, I mean, at this point, I would say that it definitely does belong on this list. Whether it needs to be higher up than 100 remains to be seen, but I definitely think it's earned a place on the top 100.
Well, agreed. It's a hell of a movie to set your baseline with, basically.
Yeah.
If this is, if we're measuring all other films on this list against the Babadook, then
it's just going to get better and better, and I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really looking forward to what's to come. I would massively recommend this movie. Like I said, I feel like it's only got one downfall or shortcoming, and that is kind of like the depiction of the Babadook itself. I just feel like it's a bit heavy metal music video, stop motion bullshit. You know what I mean? Like a Slipknot video or something.
I like him.
You like him?
I think he's creepy. I think he's good. He's got
I think he's creepier in the book.
Yeah,
the book is creepier than seeing the man.
I mean, the book is great. I'm really sad that, like, they put out a collection of them, like limited edition run of the actual book, that had all of the pages, the pop-ups and everything like that were in the film, and then a few extra pages at the end, and it was like, I would really like those. I think they went for like $80 each originally, and now obviously they're going to be an absolute fortune, but they would be super cool to have. I really like this film, so...
well, there you go. It's official.
There we go.
Right, so... we would expect you guys at the start about what's new up on the social media, on the websites, and where you can download us. All I would say is please come and have a chat with us. I promise we're nice and not internet jerks. So if you want to come and chat to us about movies, horror movies, anything, even if it's not something that's on the list, give us a shout on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or anywhere, and let's get a conversation going. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you've watched it, if you'd watch it again, whether you agree with it being on the list. Come have a chat. Let us know if this is the first. If you're watching along, I've already heard one or two people say that they're going to watch along with the podcast, which to me is so cool. I'm really excited about that.
Thanks.
So thanks very much. But if you watch it along and you're watching it for the first time, let us know what you think, because you might have a completely different opinion to us. We want to hear from you all. But I guess now the only thing left to do... Is there anything else left to do except for... Anything else you want to say? Not really. No? Wow, what's next? So what is next? What is next is film number 99, and that is... The Mist. Yep. By Frank Darabont. Yes. Now, if you go to any of our social media or anything like that, you'll be able to see trailers and links and where you can watch it.
Yeah.
We'll post up where you'll be able to watch it. Whether it's on streaming or whether you can buy it from Amazon. If you like, Kirsty and I love a bit of physical media, which sounds real dirty now I've just said it. Me and Kirsty love a bit of physical media.
Sorry, Mum.
Do your mum listen to this?
I really don't think so.
I really hope not. But yeah, we love a bit of physical media. So if you want to go and buy it, then you can click through the link on our website and buy it. And
if you go through to Amazon and buy it, like I was saying earlier, then we get a few little pennies back,
bit of scratch,
which would help support the podcast. So if you do that, but if you follow us on Facebook, which is Behind the Sofa Podcast, we put up trailers for the movie that's coming up in the following week. So in the week before the podcast, from Monday onwards, every day we'll be posting facts. If they've got sweet artwork, which thankfully a lot of the horror movies that we're going to be reviewing do, we're going to be posting all of those on there so you can get yourself excited. And then we're going to be starting to film or watch the film and review the film on the Friday, and be recording over the weekend ready for Monday. So hopefully if you keep up with us, then that would be great. Just watch along. Yeah,
so basically every Monday morning the podcast will be out, unless barring some kind of terrible incident.
No, you've jinxed us now.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said it, I was like, I'm never going to be able to stick to that. That's too much pressure. What I'm thinking of doing as well, I was just let you guys know, I was thinking of maybe doing like a little blog post, because as you said, we love a bit of merch and some physical media and all that kind of stuff. I would love to do like a little spotlight on look at this awesome poster that someone's done, or something like a look at this awesome vinyl soundtrack. So if you're into that kind of stuff as well, collectibles of any sort, I'll try and post up a few little special links for the movies that we've done the week before. But yeah, The Mists.
Yeah.
Have you seen it before?
I have. I don't think we've watched it together, but we have watched it. We have both seen it, haven't we?
Isn't there like a black and white version of it?
I have a feeling there might be more than one, but I'm going to do my research this week just to make sure that we've got all the information ready to go. But at the moment, this is Frank Darabont's The Mist, which I'm trying to remember what year it came out. I want to say 2007, but I could be wrong. I haven't got my list in front of me today.
Speaking of our best bud, Stephen King, who should give us a blurb, it's based on a Stephen King.
It is.
Right? Cool. Perfect. So our first Stephen King adaptation. I wonder how many Stephen King adaptations there are.
Not that many.
Is there Fog?
No, not that I'm aware of. I'll do that little. You caught me unawares now. You're making me sound. Cujo is not on there, but it is scary. I'm going to do a little bit of research. I'll get all my little facts in line ready for next week. But yeah, so for now we've got Babadook. Episode 100 is now under our belts. We're going to be moving on to The Mist.
Cool.
So check us out. We'll find out the trailers, where you can buy it, where you can watch it. We've got all the information you need ready for Monday's episode.
We got it all. We got it all, baby. Right. Say goodbye, Kirsty.
Goodbye, Kirsty.
Goodbye, Ollie. You said a thing last week. What was it? Like a wrap up?
From Behind the Sofa. Good night.
Ooh, creepy. I like it. Right. Bye-bye.